Hey everyone, welcome to this explainer. I am so excited you're here because today we are not just looking at dry data. No way. We're stepping right into a massive global detective story. The mystery, human migration, and literally the very words you and I are using right now. We're going to track the ancient footsteps of our ancestors to figure out exactly how their epic journeys across the planet shaped the incredible, wildly diverse tapestry of human communication.
Okay, let's dive right into this. I want you to take a wild guess. Just off the top of your head, how many distinct languages do you think are spoken on Earth today? Hundreds? Maybe a couple thousand? Well, the actual mind-boggling number is 7,000. Right at this very second, people across the globe are speaking over 7,000 completely different languages. And to be clear, we are not just talking about different accents or local slang, we mean entirely distinct languages, the kind where a speaker of one wouldn't understand a single syllable of another.
So that brings us to the core of our mystery today. Think about it. If every single one of us shares the exact same human capacity for language, and we've all got the identical human brain structure, why on earth do we speak over 7,000 different ways? Well, I want you to solve this with me. We're going to use clues from human history to figure out exactly who, or what, fractured our global communication into so many pieces. To find our very first clue, we have to go back. Way back. We're talking 60,000 to 100,000 years ago, during the famous Out of Africa journey. Small bands of early humans basically just started walking. They migrated out of Africa, steadily expanding into Eurasia. By 50,000 years ago, they'd reached Australia, and by 15,000 years ago, they finally crossed all the way into the Americas. Now imagine this scene. Small, tight-knit groups walking into entirely new climates, facing totally different environments, and most importantly, becoming permanently separated from the people they left behind. And when those groups separated, well, the way they spoke started to drift. Let's actually play a little game to see how that drift happens. Read these words out loud with me, right wherever you are. Take 15th century Middle English. Back then, the word for time was pronounced team. Go ahead, just say it out loud. Team. But today, modern English speakers say time, right? This is what we call phonological change. Specifically, it's the result of this massive historical event called the Great Vowel Shift. Basically, when a group of people is left alone, totally isolated for long enough, even the foundational vowel sounds of their language are going to naturally mutate over time.
But hey, it is not just the sounds that change. We also have lexical change, which is honestly just a fancy linguist way of saying vocabulary. Separated communities will constantly borrow or even completely invent new words to describe their changing world. For example, English borrowed the word ballet straight from French. Meanwhile, Thai took the modern English word for computer and adapted it into their own language as computer. As these isolated communities build their own unique vocabularies, borrowing here, inventing there, their languages diverge further and further from the original source.
And to really seal the deal on how one single language fractures into something unrecognizable, even the structural rules of the game completely change. Just look at Old English compared to Modern English. Old English actually had this highly complex grammatical case system, honestly much closer to what you'd find in modern German. But over centuries of change, Modern English simplified that system a ton. So think about the compounding effect here. If your sounds change, and your vocabulary changes, and your grammar changes completely independently of other groups, eventually you've just got an entirely new language. Let's move to and see how this builds on a massive historical scale. We are looking at the ultimate real-world case study here, the Roman Empire. Step 1, the Romans conquer huge territories across Europe and spread Latin everywhere they go. But then comes Step 2. The empire inevitably falls apart. Step 3, regular communication, trade, travel, all of it just plummets. And without that central empire keeping everyone connected, we hit Step 4. Latin just begins to evolve entirely on its own in these different newly isolated corners of Europe. And the result of that is absolutely brilliant to look at. Over in the isolated region of Spain, Latin slowly evolved into Spanish. Up in France, it became French. Down in Italy, Italian. Over in Romania, Romanian. These modern Romance languages are basically siblings who all moved out of the parents' house, completely lost touch with each other, and developed their own wild slang over hundreds of years. Today, they're distinct languages. You can't just naturally understand one if you speak another, and they were all born from a single parent language purely because of separation in time. Now, politics and falling empires are definitely great dividers, but the ultimate architects of linguistic isolation, that's geography. Geography provides nature's walls. We are talking about dense, impenetrable forests, towering mountain ranges, vast oceans, and just totally unforgiving deserts. When populations are divided by these massive physical barriers, they lose contact. It's that simple. There's no casual chat or trade happening to keep a shared language alive. These geographical features act as literal, unbreakable walls between human families. Which leads us to an absolute mic drop of a number: 800. In just one single geographic region, Papua New Guinea, there are over 800 distinct languages spoken today. 800. Why? Well, because it is quite simply one of the most geographically complex places on Earth. You have these dense tropical forests and incredibly rugged mountain ranges, which means human villages stay small, hyper-localized, and completely isolated from one another. In some extreme cases, you could literally walk to a neighboring village just over a single ridge and hit an entirely different, mutually unintelligible language. So the crucial point is captured perfectly by linguist Johanna Nichols. She points out long-term settlement in geographically complex regions leads to high linguistic diversity. It is practically a mathematical certainty of human history. Complex physical terrain directly equals complex language diversity. When the land itself traps you, your language evolves in a bubble, completely untouched by the outside world. And we can actually see this geographic bubbling happening on a massive continental scale too. Just think about the early human migration into the Americas via Beringia. As populations crossed over and slowly spread out across these vast territories over thousands of years, some stayed way up north while others pushed far, far south into Central and South America. Just because of the sheer vastness of the distances and the extreme geographical isolation that comes with it, North America alone developed dozens of totally distinct language families. If you compare a Navajo up in North America with Quechua all the way down in the South American Andes, they are entirely unrelated. Thousands of years of walking and settling completely rewrote their linguistic code. When linguists look at all of this today, they track these historical changes using what they call family trees. Take the Indo-European family, for instance. Now, English, Hindi, Spanish, and Russian might sound completely alien to each other to our modern ears, right? But linguists have meticulously tracked down a common ancestor for all of them, Proto-Indo-European, spoken thousands of years ago. As the people who spoke that ancient language migrated and split off into different branches, their languages did exactly the same thing. The linguistic family tree perfectly mirrors the physical map of human migration. It's like a giant puzzle coming together. And what is really fascinating here is that hard science fully backs up our detective work. It's a phenomenon known as genetic linguistic correlation. The researcher Luigi Luca Cavalli Sforza made this incredible discovery that populations with similar genetics usually speak related languages. So it proves that as our ancient ancestors migrated across the globe, our genes and our languages traveled in the exact same suitcases. Physical movement and long-term separation literally drove the incredible diversity of both our DNA and our dictionaries. So what's the big takeaway from all of this? Well, languages are not just random collections of sounds, and they aren't just simple utilitarian tools to get a point across. They are the historical records of human journeys and separations. Every single word we speak today is a vibrant, living echo of our ancestors. It's the echo of them walking out of Africa, crossing imposing mountain ranges, getting separated by vast, endless oceans, and finally finding a new, isolated place to call home. Which brings us to the end of our explainer today, and it leaves us with one incredibly powerful question to ponder. For 100,000 years, migration and sheer geographical isolation fractured human communication into 7,000 beautiful, totally distinct languages. But if physical separation created our languages, what happens now that the internet instantly connects every single one of us? Are we eventually going to merge back together into one single global language, or will we find totally new digital ways to fracture? I'm going to leave you to think about that. Thanks so much for exploring this with me today.